The allegation is that justice was simply for sale. Mr. Williams, are you worried about any criminal charges for your conduct?
Right now at 6, District Attorney indicted.
Mr. Williams simply took money.
Can you talk to us for a second?
The NBC 10 investigators have been tracking his ethics questions for months.
Don't you think you have an obligation to answer some of these questions, sir? A 23-count indictment just handed down, including allegations of wire fraud and bribery. Now, this indictment expands the gift scandal that the NBC 10 investigators have been reporting extensively. Today, we learned he took more than he reported, including trips to the Caribbean and to the West Coast, as well as that car that you mentioned. I don't think any of this was a big surprise to Seth Williams. That 60-month or 5-year sentence, that was pretty much expected.
Your report, obviously, we were not in compliance.
It is absolutely due to you.
When your critics would say that you are soft on crime, that your policies are going to be soft on crime, what do you say to them?
I would say that some of them cause crime.
Every passenger railroad in the country is legally supposed to install a critical train slowing safety system by the end of the year. But just in the last 24 hours, we have learned that regulators are giving New Jersey Transit an extension.
Inspectors also document what they describe as engineers' bad behavior.
The train isn't secure, and, quote, stretched out in the sleeping position with his personal cell is the engineer.
That basically says that the safety culture is not where it should be.
How concerned right now are you about the safety culture in New Jersey Transit?
Listen, the safety and security of all 9 million residents of the state of New Jersey is my #1 responsibility, so I'm obviously concerned.
Federal Railroad Administration said during this hearing that positive train control is simply the most dramatic, important railroad safety development of the last century. This is by far the best vantage point that we have seen over Lower Manhattan. Police from the New York Police Department, the FBI, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, all converging on this scene. While U.S. Customs can't physically inspect or x-ray every container, the Port of Philadelphia says they do sample cargo from any shipment that might be suspect. Jim, these new filings, they show a deeply flawed business. Medical mistakes kill more than 400 patients a day in the United States. This is the kind of thing that you really want to check out before you need the hospital. Some say that this plan will save drivers money. Local leaders, they've repeatedly told us that protections are coming. She was contrite in court. Outside it, she was evasive. When you were spending that money, did you consider the ethical implications?
Look, here's where...
Can she answer that question? Is this going to cost people their vote? This election, it is different. This time he's dealing with demands that he resign. Mitch Blogger with NBC 10. How are you, sir?
Following the money flowing out of City Hall.
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Discovering grants given to the politically connected.
He was not doing the program when he gave me the campaign contribution.
While those managing the money aren't watching where it goes.
Should this fund be suspended until there is oversight put in place?
I can't answer that.
The NBC 10 investigators are tracking the Philadelphia City Council's multi-million-dollar money pot. The council-controlled fund is set up to help nonprofit community groups.
But that's not what investigative reporter Mitch Blogger found when he checked to see who got money and how it was used.
Got your chores and everything done.
Leona Leonard's Women of Transformation can use all the financial help it can get.
It would be like the best thing in life to get some extra money.
The West Philly nonprofit helps abused women. Records show she applied for a Philadelphia Activities Fund grant multiple times. It's a city-run, taxpayer-funded organization doled out by district council members. In the last 2 years, they gave out more than $3.7 million. The fund's mission is to assist nonprofit organizations to serve diverse segments of the Philadelphia community. We looked through examples of the 2,100 grants that the city has given out since 2016. Among them, we found examples of questionable oversight and potential conflicts. Examples include Councilwoman Janie Blackwell directing $13,000 to a group the IRS says hasn't filed tax returns since 2009. Blackwell says that isn't disqualifying, but didn't answer questions about whether she was aware of this when she granted money. Councilman Mark Squilla sent $9,000 to a group he started before he was elected. While he says he's no longer involved with the group, it is still registered to his home address.
I don't see it as a conflict.
We found Councilwoman Sherelle Parker giving grant money to two groups, both connected to a campaign contributor.
If an individual decides that they want to support a member of City Council, there is nothing prohibiting them from doing so.
Council members tell us the grants help their districts, and they know the best way to direct the money.
We support people who are doing good things.
We found no bigger supporter of the Activities Fund than its biggest spender. Councilwoman Cindy Bass has given out more than $456,000 since 2016.
How do you decide who gets grant money?
Well, we go out and we know a lot of these people. We know the programs that they provide.
Bass gave a grant to a group that her chief of staff used to run. She also granted money to a private company. Remember, the fund is meant to assist nonprofit organizations.
Do you actually check to make sure that organizations are nonprofit organizations?
Not always, no. No, we don't.
Do you need to?
So that's something to be considered.
But oversight has been so loose at the Philadelphia Activities Fund, no one checked to make sure it was still a nonprofit. The IRS revoked its nonprofit status in 2010. There's no record of tax returns. Bass says the Department of Parks and Recreation is in charge of oversight.
Has the city been paying taxes on this fund or filing federal taxes?
Yeah, again, these are questions that we're asking, that the board is asking the nonprofit legal experts.
The Philly Parks and Rec Commissioner told us no one in her office oversees how the grant money is spent. Even if someone was, records following the grant money are scarce. We asked to see this document. It is supposed to detail Activities Fund spending and be filled out by every group that gets money. It tells organizations to describe actual expenditures and include copies of receipts. The records the city provided didn't include a single receipt. It doesn't look like anyone is reviewing them anyway.
We rely on council members to ensure that the groups that they are allocating funds to in their districts are using those funds appropriately.
The Activities Fund office is supposed to be accepting and vetting and ensuring that these funds are being used properly.
And the Activities Fund board says it has now hired lawyers to review how the money is distributed and checked. The Kenney administration also confirms the fund's first audit in 25 years is now underway. Mr. District Attorney, don't you think you have an obligation to answer some of these questions, sir?
Philly's district attorney dodging direct questions, this time about a $45,000 gift of home construction he neglected to report years ago.
You need to have a permit.
Now the NBC 10 investigators uncover no permit ever filed, and the trail of records reveals the contractor unregistered to work in Pennsylvania.
We're very aggressive. We take it very seriously.
We continue to look closer into controversies plaguing Philly District Attorney Seth Williams, from his girlfriend's delayed prosecution for allegedly slashing his tires to his late gift disclosure filing.
This afternoon, we're digging deeper into the most expensive gift. It's a gift that, as a politician, he should have disclosed years ago. The DA refuses to schedule an on-camera interview with the NBC 10 investigators, but investigative reporter Mitch Blocker keeps tracking him down, chipping away for answers.
High above Philadelphia District Attorney Seth Williams' home, you can plainly see what one of his friends gave him. His recently released gift disclosures show in fall 2013 he was given $45,000 worth of contracting work, including a roof, windows, and insulation. The gift comes from friend Mike Palmieri, who along with his wife owns this Westville, New Jersey company, Linmar Builders. In Philadelphia, licenses and inspections requires permits for any structural repair, including a roof.
A property owner is always ultimately responsible for what happens on their property.
But according to city records, the DA never got a permit for the work. He won't schedule a time to talk with us, so we had to ask him questions at a public event at City Hall.
Why didn't you file a permit with L&I for that work?
We're here today to talk about expungements.
But I'm talking about your gift disclosure.
This is a wonderful opportunity.
Mr. Williams, will you answer the question?
This is a wonderful opportunity. I've answered all of your questions.
You haven't answered all of our questions.
In Pennsylvania, by law, contractors have to register with the state attorney general's office before making home repairs.
Generally speaking, yes, they have to be registered with our office.
But the state attorney general's office confirms Linmar Builders wasn't and isn't registered to work on residential property in Pennsylvania. We tried talking with Linmar Builders owners, but they never returned our calls. When we visited their Westville office, this man came outside.
I was just wondering what you guys are doing taking video of the building.
But we're trying to figure out why this company, without a permit, did some work on the Philly DA's house.
We still don't have an answer from the company. As for the DA, he left this event as soon as it ended.
Mr. Williams, come on.
Giving no explanation as to why he didn't follow Philly's permitting law.
I'm just trying to figure out why it is that the chief law enforcement officer in the city did not file a permit to get construction work done in his home. You're not going to talk to me now?
Is kindergarten accounted for?
An alert for parents across Pennsylvania.
Is first grade accounted for?
They put our children's lives and the teachers' lives in danger.
School districts around our area failing at fire drills.
Why didn't your school district do all of its fire drills?
That's a good question. Now, based on our reporting, action taken meant to fix the failure.
First, your NBC 10 investigators found it in Philly, now across our region. Superintendent saying they performed all fire drills when their own records show they haven't.
Investigative reporter Mitch Blocker continues exposing Pennsylvania schools that are failing at fire drills.
This is how it's supposed to work.
Right out the end door, Mrs. Green.
Bethlehem's Hanover Elementary empties in 1 minute and 17 seconds.
Okay, Hanover.
But across Bethlehem last year, 20 of the district's 22 schools didn't follow state law and document a fire drill every month.
Why didn't your school district do all of its fire drills?
Yeah. So there's really not a good answer for that.
Superintendent Joe Roy says since the NBC 10 investigators uncovered the lack of drills, he's now getting monthly reports about each school's fire drills.
It's fixed. I mean, it's fixed.
But he's not the only one facing these questions.
Irresponsible.
In Easton, Susan Eagle wanted to know why her grandson's school had a fire alarm marked out of order. She didn't realize 6 of the district's 10 schools did not record enough fire drills.
I'm disappointed in the fact that it even happened in my school district.
The principals were admonished for that.
Superintendent John Reinhardt told us all of his school's fire alarms now work. He's put the district's police chief in charge of making sure the fire drills get done. In Coatesville, none of the district's 10 schools documented enough fire drills. The district's own records show East Fallowfield Elementary did just 1 fire drill last year, while Coatesville Senior High School failed to record any drills.
In the past, they have not been required to send a form to the district office.
Superintendent Kathy Tashner said her district did drills, they just didn't always write it down.
So it's a word-of-mouth process.
That's correct.
How do you know that they're doing enough drills if you're not documenting it?
Well, and that's the point. You know, I signed a form based on the data I have at the time.
All Pennsylvania superintendents must certify to the Department of Education that their districts did all required fire drills. In Coatesville, Superintendent Tashner signed the certification. Superintendent Roy signed it in Bethlehem, and so did Superintendent Reinhardt in Easton. But notice the date on all 3. They all signed it in March, before the school year was over.
How can you certify you did all your drills when the school year is not complete?
Right. So essentially, every verification form that's sent in is not accurate.
This is that form that all superintendents in the state have to sign and send to the Department of Education, certifying that they did in fact do all of their required fire drills. You would think that once it gets to Harrisburg, someone would check to make sure it's accurate.
No, we don't have an individual that does that.
Pedro Rivera is Pennsylvania's Secretary of Education.
Are you equipped to be able to monitor this?
So I think this is a great opportunity to kind of revisit the fact that we have to do a better job of using technology.
After seeing what the NBC 10 investigators uncovered, he promises sweeping changes, including having districts report all fire drills electronically and posting them publicly online. Rivera says this will allow the department to better track the drills and let parents see what their district is doing. He's also pushing back the filing date so superintendents can certify after the school year is actually over.
Credit is absolutely due to you. You definitely brought it to light.
For the investigators,
Is the rest of 4th grade accounted for?
I'm Mitch Blocker, NBC 10 News.